today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about why financial success alone doesn't create fulfillment and what actually does. Stay tuned. When you have a shared sense of mission and purpose in the areas that you're working in together, you can measure right away whether you're succeeding or not, and it won't just be about dollar signs. Prosperity is about helping people. Prosperity is about emotional enrichment and fullness. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I'm your host, Rich Heller, and today we're talking about redefining prosperity beyond money. A very crazy idea. And I got to tell you, there was a time in my life where I couldn't even talk about prosperity because, the love of money is the root of all evil, and wanting prosperity, that could be bad. I had all kinds of stories about prosperity that, look at what really, really wealthy people are doing with their money. If you have prosperity, you might be like them. So there was a lot happening there, right? Part of it was confusion about what is prosperity. And the other thing is it only allowed me to achieve a certain level of financial prosperity as well. So we're going to hit on both of these things in this episode. What might be getting in the way of having some worldly wealth, because what we know about worldly wealth is helpful in navigating the world, and what misconceptions might we have about what prosperity is that is getting in the way of our having a really full and rich life. A life, what? Rich in relationship, right? That's what it's all about. A life rich in relationship. So Joe says, we've worked hard, we're financially stable, and on paper, our life looks good, but it does not feel prosperous. We're working all the time. We're tired. We're disconnected from each other. Our kids, they sometimes miss us, and we're always managing stress. If this is success, why does it feel so empty? And I want you to know that this couple, he's writing on behalf of him and his wife who work together in this instance, and this is not just limited to people who work together. There are plenty of people who don't work together who have this experience. They're having an experience of, we're checking all the boxes, we've done everything right. We have financial prosperity, and yet something's missing. I've mentioned in previous episodes, in our culture, in American culture in particular, and we're transmitting this disease to the rest of the world, there is a drift. The drift is make more money so you can buy more stuff and your life will be more better. More money, more stuff, more better. More, better, different. More different, better. That's the message. And we see it in countless ways. When you look at videos online, you're actually interrupted by advertisements. We don't do that at Rich in Relationship. Just want you to notice. We don't do that on purpose. I could monetize this podcast. I got enough subscribers and enough views. But we don't do that because it ain't, in this case, it's not about the money, right? What makes this podcast prosperous for me is I learn and I grow every time I do it. What makes this podcast a prosperous experience for me is I share what's been working for other couples with you and people like you so that you can take those tools and apply them to your life. What makes this podcast prosperous is I have fun doing it. Believe it or not, when you've done over 400 episodes, it can either get really stale or really fun. Right now, it's really fun. So what I'm telling you is prosperity is so much more than money. Now, don't get me wrong. People call me up because of this podcast. They say, hey, we think you can help us. And it's not unusual for me to help some of the people who call. Not everyone who calls really needs the help we have to offer. Sometimes the help we have to offer isn't a good fit for who they are and what they need. And we send them to someone else. But people, there is financial benefit to doing the podcast, or I might not do it. But I want you to know there was a long time, let's say the first 200 episodes, where the financial benefit was negligible. And I kept moving forward because it's fun, it's good, it's juicy, helps me to explore what's really important. Not only does it help me to help you, but it reminds me what's really important in my own life, because I got a built-in forgetter. I forget all the time, but if I'm telling you about it, I'm telling me about it. So prosperity is about fun. Prosperity is about helping people. Prosperity is about relationships and connection. Prosperity is about emotional enrichment and fullness, like a really full and emotionally full life. Some of y'all have a very limited emotional span because there's stuff on one end of the spectrum you don't want to touch, and that's keeping you from the real joy. You want to have some joy, you got to slog through the muddy emotional part of your life that you don't really want to have. I'm doing it too. All right, prosperity is huge. Prosperous marriage, a prosperous partnership, which is really what this series is about, is a partnership where both people feel fulfilled and purposeful in what they're doing together and apart. They're growing individually and they're growing their relationship. And if they're working together, they're growing individually, they're growing the relationship, and they're growing their business together. Now, it is not unusual for people working together to feel like they're growing individually for the most part, not so much the relationship and the business, and that's because we tend to mix those things up. But the reason why we mix those things up is we have a limited bandwidth on what prosperity is. Now, let's talk about financial prosperity. There is nothing wrong with financial prosperity. In fact, there's a powerful argument that if you have big dreams about the changes you want to make in the world, you're going to need to invest a lot into those changes. It might be a lot of time and attention. It might be a lot of money, but you're going to need to invest a lot. And for some of us, driving change is more about investing money and some time than investing only time. For some of us, it's only about time, but having more wealth allows you to influence more. There's also a lot about the study of well-being and happiness, right? Study of well-being and happiness, it has been shown that we need, all of us, to have a certain set of needs met in order to have less stress. So the number is $80,000 to $100,000 in the United States. Everybody who's making less than $80,000 or $100,000 has gotten more stress because maybe they're going to the laundry instead of doing the laundry at home. That takes away time, and it forces them to do work the travel time, it takes away from the rest of their life. Or maybe they don't have a washing machine, and so they're spending more time washing dishes. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with washing dishes. What I'm talking about here is when you have kids and you have a life and you're working, both of you, time becomes a precious commodity. And when you're at that $80,000 or $100,000 mark, you have enough tools, car, washing machines, dishwasher, enough space, enough clothing to stay warm, enough money to pay for internet, to pay for heating, cooling, to live in a relatively secure neighborhood. You have enough money at that point where the major stressors are radically reduced. And the studies show that after $80,000 or $100,000, the impact of money on our happiness as a stress reduction tool is what we're talking about, becomes less and less and less and less. The punchline of that is studies on well-being, which is the study of happiness, show you got to have a certain amount of money to reduce the stress so that you have time to be prosperous in other areas of your life. You have time to invest in your marriage, time to invest in your children, time to invest in your hobbies, time to invest in doing a podcast, whatever it is. There's a certain financial level. It's not just about the money, but sometimes when we're struggling to get to that point, what happens is we go, wow, I got a Kia Soul, but what I'd really like is a Lexus. Or maybe, wow, I got a Lexus, but what I'd really like is a Mercedes. Or I got a Mercedes, but what I really want is a Ferrari. Or I have a Ferrari, but what I really need is a Bugatti. And it's easy, because we're goal-driven creatures, to get the hook in our mouth that we need more. As goal-driven creatures, We are being taught, and rightly so, that as we close the gap between our goal and where we are, we need to set another goal. The reason is when you start getting close to your goal, your motivation becomes less. So you set another goal to increase your motivation. That is fine for personal development. That is fine for a loving relationship. That is fine for supporting your children. That is fine for any quality of life issue. But when it becomes what I have is working well for me and it's appropriate for me, but I still want more, that's when the current of society is overriding your needs as an individual, your needs as a partner, your needs as a parent, your needs as a worker, your needs as a member of your community, your needs as a member of the world. And how do you know that this is happening? Just like my friend here, you have enough, but it doesn't feel like enough. You always need more. When your sense of success includes relational health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional energy, shared goals and growth, it stops feeling hollow. In fact, you could be living on welfare, Social Security, whatever, and feel completely and utterly fulfilled when you're in that space, because it's not about the money, it's about where we come from. So there's a difference between growth and goals and appreciating where we are and what we have. Brad and Gwen. Remember Brad and Gwen, my favorite clients? They're really all of my clients with the same name. Brad and Gwen had reached a stage they had once dreamed of. They had a successful business that they were involved in together. Brad was doing the sales and managing the teams. Gwen was not only taking care of the books, but she had a lot of operational responsibilities because Gwen was super detail-oriented. They were crack-a-lackin'. They were providing well for their family. They were responsible. I mean, responsible to themselves, responsible to their clients, responsible to their employees or internal clients. They paid their taxes. They were doing everything right. But life felt a little relentless to them. It just kept coming at them. They were having a hard time keeping all those plates spinning. And every time they got a new gain, it required more coordination between them, more pressure, more emotional bandwidth that maybe they just didn't have. Their partnership felt productive, but it was thin. Rest felt inefficient. In fact, they really didn't get a lot of rest, if we're honest. They were living a joyless existence where they were doing everything that the cultural drift said they should do, everything that what they saw on Facebook told them they were doing right, flying private jets, all that good stuff when they flew, but they weren't flying very often. They were doing all that stuff, but they didn't feel rich. Brad said, I thought once we got here, things would slow down. And Gwen said, I'm not even sure I know who Brad is anymore outside of work. They were optimizing the wrong definition of prosperity, and not because they're bad people, not because they're greedy. They didn't even have that thing we're talking about, the love of money. It's because nobody taught them. Nobody gave them the handbook for marriage. Nobody gave them the handbook for parenting. They got the handbook for company culture, and that gave them a clue that maybe something in their family culture wasn't right. And that's why they came to Rich in Relationship. You see, at Rich in Relationship, we challenge core cultural assumptions. At Rich in Relationship, we help people rediscover that relational health and emotional safety, if those things are at the heart of everything we do, we feel secure and fulfilled even when we fail. Because failure is an opportunity to learn and grow. When we put personal growth and vitality and a sense of purpose and mission on the front burner, it's nice to have the externals, but we know whether we're succeeding or not based on how we're feeling about our sense of purpose and mission. And when two people not only are fulfilling their individual sense of purpose and mission, but they have a shared sense of purpose and mission, whether they're working together or not, folks, whether they're working separately or together. When they have a shared sense of mission and purpose, it might just be the family, or it might be they have a shared sense of mission and purpose in the business, which won't be the same as the shared mission and purpose in the family, but it's easy to mix those up. And sometimes it takes a professional to help pull those things apart. When you have a shared sense of mission and purpose in the areas that you're working in together, you can measure right away whether you're succeeding or not, and it won't just be about dollar signs. When your focus is on long-term sustainability, individual and marital shared growth, that's when your relationships get really enriched. We need to, if you're in the business of family, or if you're in a family business, we need to be measuring financially, always, right? I am not telling you don't pay attention to the money. Hey, let me be real. We're going to do a whole episode on the business of family. Every family is a business. Whether they're working in a business together or working a job separately, the family itself is a business. The business of family, just like entrepreneurial ventures, depend on more money is coming in than is going out. Or a better way to put it would be more money is coming in than is going out for basic life expenses. When we get sucked into the current of the world, of the culture, we live hand to mouth no matter how much we make. When Brad and Gwen came to me, that is exactly what was happening. This is why Brad and Gwen, even though they had enough, they felt impoverished because they were so focused on measuring the success of their business. And the success of a business, make no mistake, is dollars and customer satisfaction, those two things, and internal clients. Those are three things. How do our internal clients feel? How do our customers feel? How many dollars do we have in? And I would add, how do we feel? Four things. This is the success of the business is measured by those four things. The success of the family, similarly, is measured by those four things. Not how much you have, but are you paying the bills? Are you putting money away for college? Are you putting away money for an emergency? Are you putting away money for retirement? Do you feel good, satisfied, fulfilled, and happy in yourself? Do you feel good, fulfilled, satisfied, and happy in your partnership? Do you feel good, fulfilled, satisfied, and happy with the way you're showing up for your children? Those would be the measurements of the business of family. And like I said, we're going to do a whole episode on that, so let's not go down that rabbit hole. Through their work with Rich in Relationship, Brad and Gwen began redefining what they were building, not just as a family, but also in their business. They got clear on what the legacy was they wanted to leave for their family and what the legacy was they wanted to leave for their business. They got clear on what fulfillment meant in each environment, and it wasn't the same thing. And so they stopped blending work and family with work. They started to focus on, am I meeting life? Whether we're at work or whether we're at home, am I meeting life in a way that challenges me and is growing me? Are we meeting life in a way that challenges us and grows us together? Because the relationship is really a separate entity from the two of you, dependent on the two of you. And is that relationship, because it's growing and thriving, supporting us individually and our children, right? That's the purpose of the relationship, just like the purpose of a business is to support the growth and well-being of the clients, internal clients, and the owners. Are we designing a life that we can enjoy, love, thrive in, and sustain emotionally and relationally and financially? And when they answered those questions, they started to rebalance things. When they answered those questions, they started to separate their work mission from their family mission. Oh, don't worry, there were things about the work that fed the family. The purpose of the job is to support the family. We work for our families. We don't have families so we can work. If you feel like you have to work because you have a family, we need to flip that on its head. And you should feel free to reach out to me because I'll help you do that. They rebalanced time with income, quality of life with material goods. They rebalanced productivity with being emotionally present. They valued personal growth along with fulfillment of responsibility. They weren't just checking boxes anymore. Brad said, I now realize that provision isn't just financial. I'm providing emotional stability. I am the emotional foundation, the bedrock that this family is being built on. Just like I am the bedrock of my business. And Gwen said, I stopped feeling guilty for wanting to step out of the business from time to time and really evolve, grow, enhance our family. I stopped feeling guilty for wanting joy. And the funny thing happened. As they started to balance out their business life and separate it from their family life, they started hiring people in the business to do some of the jobs they didn't need to be doing that other people could do. And that gave them more time to work on their family and be members of their family. And as that started to balance out, they started to feel better about themselves, feel more fulfilled. They started to separate their roles in the business more and more based on their innate skills and abilities. They ran with the knowledge that prosperity isn't just financial, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's relational. It's thinking about what your life and relationship can hold, what they can hold, that's going to help it grow rather than make it break. You see, when your definition of prosperity and success includes relational health, emotional energy, and shared growth, it stops feeling hollow and starts feeling fulfilling and like something you could do forever. Not that you would never need a vacation. I love what I do. I need a vacation every now and then. I'm going to take one in about 10 days. Vacations are good. Not because we hate what we're doing, but because we need to unplug, reset, and come back. And Brad and Gwen were able to take many, many, many more vacations as a result of the work we did together. If you have a business or family that needs help, or if you're in a family business that needs help, feel free to reach out. Countless couples have been impacted by rebalancing their lives in the way that Brad and Gwen did. And the starting point is to work on communication with ourselves and with our partners. Different ways you can reach out. You can email me, rich@richinrelationship.com, RICH at name of the podcast, all one word, richinrelationship.com. You can go to richinrelationship.com and join our free relationship community, The Bridge, which has resources there, and you could schedule an appointment with me on The Bridge. Those are two ways you can reach out. And in the meantime, I want you to have a fantastic day and an amazing tomorrow.